I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Fuck this. Partner. Fuck off.
Layla and Malik have been arrested. They may be deported. There's no paper trail at all. The victim has to sign a confidentiality agreement to get the settlement. The lawyer takes a third, and the church sweeps it under the rug.
The bullet has exited the arm.
Well, let's just sew that sucker up, huh?
Yeah. No. Honey, don't look at her. Stop it.
I'm sorry. Do you ever answer any of your own questions?
Yes, he does. Usually he does, but not today because I'm doing all the talking because I'm really nervous and I kind of love him and I want you to too.
Oh, honey.
Sorry, Tim. Over to you. Shoot.
Yeah, I think my dad...
Can I just say one more thing?
What an intro. All right, welcome back, everyone, to episode number 40. This is a big one, right? The 10th special episode of the Best Thing We've Seen podcast. My name is Flo.
And I am Gabe, and I'm looking forward to this one. And how are you, Flo?
Wow, you sound so...
Amazing.
Yes. Exactly the word I was looking for. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm a bit exhausted, but we'll get through this. This is going to be,
Sure.
This is going to wake me up a little bit. How you doing?
I'm fine. Like I just told you, I had an amazing lasagna. So
yeah,
I can only be good right now. How are you? I mean, except
again?
for exhausted.
How are you? What are you talking about? What do you mean? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good otherwise.
Are you looking forward to this episode? Is there
No.
a lot that you've seen recently?
No.
All right. Great. So it's just going to be me.
Great.
It's going to be
Banter.
off.
Well, today we're talking about Rachel McAdams, who, I don't know, is she one of your favorite actresses?
She isn't, but I have grown
Great.
to like
Thank
her
you for
even
listening.
more.
We don't like her, but we'll talk about her for 90 plus minutes now.
No, I do like her. I don't like her as much as you, but
What do you mean?
I've grown to like her.
Hold on. Accusing me of things that I mean, this is not an
Not
accusation.
accusing
but
you, I thought
what?
you liked her.
No. Well, I do like
Poor
her. but-
Rachel McAdams, Jesus Christ.
I know.
This episode started off.
No, but
horribly
I was
for
going
her.
to say, I think she is one of the great actresses working today, and I like her a lot. But I wouldn't consider her being one of my favorite actresses. That's all I'm saying. I'm surprised that you thought I was like that big a fan because we came up with that topic together, didn't we? Or was it me? I don't know.
I think you just said Rachel McAdams, and I was like, sure, she doesn't have a huge filmography, which makes it easier, I thought.
Yeah, she's someone that we've both seen quite a bit of, and as I said, I like her a lot, and I think she's a great actress. So it sort of it looked like a great fit for our next special episode, and I'm excited because I watched quite a bit for this, and this was a tough list to put together for me. I don't know how it was for you.
To put the list together, it was all right, but it was so much shit that so much stuff that I watched.
Stop
this
bashing. It's ridiculous.
Sorry. I was like 15 or 16 films plus something in like 7 days.
What?
Yeah.
Why? What?
There's so much that I had to rewatch because I hadn't seen it in a long time.
What?
And I noticed there are a lot of films that I haven't seen.
16 Rachel McAdams things you watched in a week.
Yeah. Like 15 or 16
Jesus
plus
Christ.
one season of a show, which
Right.
was not this. I did that last week, luckily.
Right.
So yeah.
So you the whole reason why we picked this topic is we were both well prepared for it. Now you have to watch 16 things in a week.
Well, there are more things that I haven't seen from her than I thought, and a lot of things that I've seen with her I haven't seen
Ridiculous.
in a long time. So I was like, all right, let's rewatch some stuff. And
I was even talking to a friend and he was like, you asked him for a Blu-ray, like you were like chasing the whole city of Vienna down to find like a certain Blu-ray. It's a film that's not even going to be that high on my list.
Well, they didn't have it in like 2 or 3 stores, and they only had the DVD, and they didn't want to buy a DVD because they were just going to watch it once.
Disgusting.
Yeah, I know. So I asked them because I know his parents have a huge DVD collection, and I asked them if they had the film, and luckily they did.
But you had seen that before, right?
Yes, but like once, and that was like 5 years ago.
Right.
So.
Well, before we I want to say once again, I'm excited for this list because and you haven't rectified your comments from the beginning either. I think you like her too, right? She's one of the great actresses working today.
I do
Rachel
like her.
McAdams.
Like I said, I like her even more now that I've seen a couple of things that I hadn't before. And she's a great actress, and I'm excited to see her in even more things.
Yeah. Well, I've looked this up. The only thing that she has coming up is the latest Sherlock Holmes film, according to IMDb. But while I double check, please let everyone know how this special episode of our podcast works.
Yes, so every 4th episode of our podcast is a special episode where we're talking about the best thing we've seen from a person. And we do that in the form of a top 10 list, counting down from number 10 to number 1, the best thing that we've seen. That thing can be anything from a film to a TV show or maybe a YouTube video.
TV show.
TV show. And no. And yeah, that's the thing. And when we do this top 10 list, we count down, and if anybody has a film or thing or whatever that's on a different tier than the other person, we might postpone the discussion for later if there's a big difference, or if it's on my number 8 spot and on Flo's number 9, for example, we're going to do the discussion right then and there and say what we liked about the film and why it's on that position on the list.
Right.
Yeah.
And as always, we have never discussed this list before, so we don't know what the other one will choose. And I have no idea what you're going to pick.
I have no idea for you either, to be honest.
This is going to be, I think, well, she has around between 30 or 40 credits. I think our top 10 list could look incredibly different. I'm excited. So let's get into it. I have at least
2 things on my list that I expect you not to have, so...
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I have seen a lot of her work, and this was tough for me, as I said before, to put this together because I had like a tough time picking my number 10. There were like several things fighting for that number 10 spot, but I had to end up somewhere, you know. Who's going to start off this week, do you know?
Once again, no idea, to be honest. Last week,
the last special. We're always going off with the special. The DiCaprio.
We had... Who did we talk about? Jesus Christ. DiCaprio, of course. And I think I started us off. I'm not 100% sure.
I don't think you did, because you had the last pick with The Departed. So that must mean that I started off.
Do Wolf of Wall Street earlier because I picked it higher? Because I had in number 2, and then I think we just did the discussion right then and there.
Hold on. Hold on. What was the number 10 spot we picked? I'm looking it up.
That's just a testament of how prepared and professional we are.
Sure. No, you started off. You're right. Gabe's number 10 was the first one.
Perfect. So let's start it off, Flo, with your number 10, please.
Hold on. Oh, yeah, that's right. This is all over the place. This is just it just shows how exhausted I am today. But let's get into it, right? We're going to talk about a lot of good things. Let's talk about my number 10 spot, which is a movie that I just mentioned in some capacity. Well, it's Sherlock Holmes. This was a tough pick. Is that going to be on your list?
It's not.
Well, she's a very small part in that movie, right?
Yeah, that's why I didn't pick it.
Yeah, that's why I didn't pick it higher. Because I like that movie a lot. I mean, what do you think about it?
I do like it. I haven't rewatched it for this special.
Wasn't one of your 16 rewatches?
No, I debated if I should, but then there were other films that I hadn't. It's been longer since I saw them, and I thought I didn't think that Sherlock Holmes would make the list because I do kind of like it. I'm not a huge fan, to be honest.
Yeah, you're one of those rare people who don't even like the BBC version, right?
I don't. I'm not a fan of the books either, to be honest. I tried it, and it makes no sense for me. I don't know.
It makes no sense. You just don't have the same intellect that he has.
He just makes wild fucking connections.
I know, you said that before. Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, I like this movie. Obviously directed by Guy Ritchie. And Sherlock Holmes 3 also will be, I think, directed by Guy Ritchie. But, yeah, as I said before, her part, she plays Irene Adler, right? I don't know, that sounded weird the first time I said it. And she's sort of like, she's the person, or the one person that makes Sherlock Holmes sort of nervous, right? She sort of has the upper hand on him the whole time, which is a fun like dynamic these two have. And Downey Jr. is great in it, and I mean it's a stellar cast. And I liked the reveal of the whole movie towards the end, where they sort of revealed how everything was done, and with Mark Strong as the villain, and these things, they seemed like very unlikely. I could have never, as you just said, which is for you that's like a bad thing, but there was no way that I could like solve the riddles myself. And then the way they just revealed they showed how it worked, it was just sort of like, I was into it. It sort of, it was fun.
But to be clear, it's not like I hate Sherlock Holmes, and I do kind of like this film because it's made in more of a fun way. It doesn't take itself that serious, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a good dynamic between Rachel McAdams and Robert Downey Jr., I think.
That's the reason why it made my list. And as I said, number 10, I had like, I'm going to go through it afterwards when we talk about our honorable mentions. I had like multiple things fighting for number 10 spot. But then I had to be like honest, like Sherlock Holmes, I enjoy that movie and I could rewatch that more often than some of the other picks. So that's my number 10.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, my number 10 is something that I think is going to be higher on your list.
Here we go with the predictions again. You're just going to predict.
I know.
You were right last time.
It's half the fun, man.
Yeah, you were right.
It's Wedding Crashers.
What did you say? Sorry. I see. You think that's going to be higher on my list?
I thought so, yeah. Isn't it?
This barely made my list, but it is on my list. Yeah, no,
all right.
It is my number 8 spot.
All right, do you want to talk about it?
Sure, let's talk about it.
All right, well, the reason I picked it is I didn't think that it would make my list at all. I didn't have a great memory of it. I thought it was like a fine comedy, and I think it's actually the first film in which I saw Rachel McAdams. Probably.
I was going to ask you that. Yeah, do you know when was the first time?
I think so. Oh, it must have been Wedding Crashers because when the film came out, I was like around 8 or something like that, and I think I saw it when I was like 10, maybe 8 even. But it is a fine comedy, and I liked it, some of the humor. But as I got older, I've thought back on the film, and I think I actually rewatched it at some point when I was like in my teens, and I thought it was a fine film, but it's not great. It's not revolutionary comedy, to be honest.
Well, I have not seen this in years. And I got around to watching a lot of things in preparation for this podcast, but also some things that I didn't get around to. This was one of those things that I didn't get around to because I had seen it before and I was sort of prioritizing other things.
Yeah, fair.
But I remember I like looked up certain clips on YouTube, and I do think this is an above average comedy, like an American comedy. I think Cooper is great as we talked about him on, we talked about the movie on our Bradley Cooper special.
Yeah, for a second, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and he obviously plays sort of the bad guy in it, and he gets into it with Vince Vaughn and the whole like football scene. I don't know if you remember that. It's a funny scene with Chris Walken and stuff. Yeah.
I have to say, I was surprised when I rewatched it. I had a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, it's fun.
A lot of jokes that I didn't think would get me as much nowadays, and I even remembered some of them. Still great, and I think Vince Vaughn, his delivery was great. He was like one of the best things about this film. Yes. It's funny because I saw him in another thing.
Vince Vaughn? You're talking about Owen Wilson?
No, Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn is in another... Oh, yes! I didn't make that connection before.
And he plays a very serious role in that one.
He does.
Which made it even... And I primarily know that man for comedy.
Yeah.
And then I saw him in a more serious role, and then afterwards I watched Wedding Crashers, and I thought he's great. He's great at jumping between being extremely serious and just being hilarious.
Oh, you did rewatch this?
The Wedding Crashers, yeah.
I thought you said like you rewatched it like a couple of months ago or years ago.
No, I think I watched it once when I was very little, then when I was a teenager or something like that, and now I finally watched it again after like 6 or 8 years or more. Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, we don't really need to... I think people know Wedding Crashers, right? Like Owen Wilson, Vince Vaughn sort of crash weddings, and then Vince Vaughn falls for Isla Fisher, who pretends to be a virgin, I think. And is it her sister, Rachel McAdams?
Yeah, and Rachel McAdams is her sister. They meet at both of their sisters' wedding, which Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn crash, and then they kind of get invited to their house, and Rachel McAdams is, like you said, is engaged or the boyfriend of Bradley Cooper.
She's the boyfriend of Bradley Cooper.
No.
It's a very different movie that you saw.
It's a very open film, all right? Don't judge.
Who are we to assume genders here? But you know that football scene, I watched it back. It's so funny because the way they did like the sound design or the sound like on them like falling to the ground, because like I think it's Vaughn's character gets tackled down to the ground by Cooper. It's just so well shot and funny because of the sound he makes when he drops to the floor. Because in other films, like it's like a cheap joke, I guess, but for some reason it's really, really well done in this movie. So I want to, I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember it being an above average comedy, so I had to put it on the list.
Yeah, I think, and Vince Vaughn just really sells it in that moment.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
To kind of also mention Rachel McAdams, she's also very good in this, and I think she plays a very sweet character. And yeah, it's a cool film of hers, and just one of her early, I think, breakout roles, which makes it
must have been. Yeah, when was this released? Wedding Crashers, 2005.
2005. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I took a stab in the dark. It was very good.
And I think, yeah, like you said, she's done like 30 to 40 things that gave her an acting credits on IMDb, which includes some very early shows that she had some guest appearances on.
Sure, as most people did, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think there's a lot in her early career up until The Wedding Crashers.
Well, I don't know if we're going to talk about that movie, but I think Mean Girls was 2004, maybe? And I know for a fact that is sort of one of her most iconic roles.
You're right. That's
I think
like
that was 2004, right? And she's just a complete bitch in that, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, spoiler, I didn't see that.
I
did see it. Sorry, I did see it. It's not on my list. That's what I wanted to say. I did actually see it.
It was one of your 35 movies that you rewatched.
I didn't rewatch it. I was sure it wouldn't make my list, so I didn't bother.
It's not going to make my list either.
All right. I think it's just not a film for us, I guess. But
yeah.
If you enjoyed,
I mean, if it was called Mean Boys, then maybe. But yeah.
Of course, yeah. And it must be good.
Yeah. What's your number? Oh, hold on.
What's your number 9? Your first. That was my number 10.
Oh, that was your 10. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. See, I'm confused already. My number 9 is...
All right.
Get ready for some controversial picks. Because I was going to say that beforehand, as I always like to say in these special episodes, there's going to be some controversial picks here. Like, some people are going to be like Rachel McAdams. Number 1 movie is going to be my number 9 spot. I'm going to go with Midnight in Paris. There we go. This is the movie that Gabe has been chasing the whole city of Vienna down to rewatch.
And it's higher for me.
Okay.
High enough that we can postpone the conversation.
Right, sure. I'm just going to say now, this almost did not make my list either because... Okay, no, you know what? No, I'm going to save it.
We're going to talk about it later.
Yeah.
All right, my number 9 is The Little Prince.
Yeah, no.
Did you see this?
No.
All right.
Of course not. What do you mean?
I don't know.
I guarantee you have not seen this before last week.
I've seen this like a year ago. I did not rewatch this film.
Okay, but you definitely didn't see this in theaters.
No, I saw it on Netflix.
Yeah.
Sorry,
go on.
So yeah, Little Prince is an animation film which is on Netflix. I think it actually has. Maybe Netflix bought the rights.
Is this the first ever animation voice acting pick on our show? I can't remember you picking a voice acting credit before.
I don't think any of the other people actually did big voice work in my recollection.
I don't know offhand now. Yeah, but okay.
Anyway, big day for all of us.
Celebrate your time.
But yeah, it's a sweet film. It's about a girl who moves to a new house with her mom, who's got very high expectations of her daughter. The mother, is voiced by Rachel McAdams, and she lays out this plan for her daughter, what she has to do when, and wants her to be this extraordinary kid, pretty much, in an academic kind of way. And then she kind of meets one of her neighbors, who's an elderly man who lives in the story above her, and they befriend each other. And he tells her stories about the little prince who he met in the desert, and then tells her a story about imagination and freedom. And it's a bit of a coming of age story in the sense of a kid who kind of was stunted kind of by her mother by having those huge expectations lying on her shoulder, and then this man telling her this beautiful story, because The Little Prince is probably a story that everybody kind of knows.
Yeah.
And I've actually never read it, to be honest. I even have the book in my bookshelf. I got it for my, I don't know what birthday, and I never read it.
Yes.
Which is kind of a shame. And I finally have to do that. And I really wanted to after seeing this film, and then I got distracted as I always do. But it's a very sweet film, and it's got a mixture of two kind of different animation styles. One is kind of closer to a DreamWorks or Pixar kind of animation style when it's in the real world where the kid lives and everything. And when the man tells her the story and she reads about it and stuff like that, the animation style completely changes completely, which is great and so sweet. And it's a good film, but the reason why it's my number 9 is the ending was a bit too cheesy and kind of broke with the rest of the style of the film, I think. And Rachel McAdams' role isn't huge.
Right.
It's big, but it's not huge. But it's got an amazing cast as well. It's got like Marion Cotillard, it's got Jeff Bridges and Rachel McAdams and I think Paul Rudd. And it's a very sweet film. So if you're looking for an animation film and you kind of ran out of ideas, that's a nice little pick. And it flew under my radar. I heard about the film, The Little Prince, and I thought it was just an animation of that book. Nothing else, but it's got like the story behind it, which makes it very interesting. And yeah,
I'm just looking up the cast. Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, as well.
Ricky Gervais, friend of the show.
Mm-hmm.
James Franco. Paul Giamatti. Yeah, you're right. It's a good cast. Yeah. I thought this was not going to... I thought this was supposed to be a not very good movie. That was not a good sentence. Like this was a badly constructed sentence. I thought this was a badly constructed movie. Because everyone who saw it on my Letterboxd account sort of rated it pretty averagely. That's not a word either. I'm all over the place.
I don't think it's amazing. I think give it a 7 on Letterboxd, and that's because of the ending mostly. But I thought just the idea of those two animation styles is very cool.
Right. No, yeah. As I said, maybe I should have watched this. I sort of didn't even consider watching this because I thought it wasn't supposed to be good. But of course it makes your list.
I actually completely forgot about that film, and I forgot that Rachel McAdams was in it.
Yeah.
Until today when I composed the list.
You composed it?
Yeah.
That sounds beautiful. Yeah.
I'm going to sing it to you later.
Well, please let me know your number 8.
It's your number 8. Sorry, no.
Wedding Crashes, yeah.
Fair enough. My number 8 is, I'm so sure going to be on your list, and I'm very surprised that it's on mine, but I rewatched it and it was actually very fun.
This is a great episode already. I love it. Also, yeah, go on, sorry.
Game Night.
Yeah, that is higher for me.
All right, of course it is.
Of course it is, yeah. We're both too predictable. Well, my number 7 spot, my number 7 spot is a movie called Red Eye.
I watched this and it did not make my list.
Yeah. I knew that wasn't going to make your list. I like this movie because I'm a fan of contained thrillers. And I also have a soft spot for airplane movies. So this sort of fits that. And it's directed by Wes Craven, who's sort of one of the horror icons, like directing wise. And this is sort of, it has some, I don't know if I wouldn't say this is a horror film, but it's a thriller. And I think it's a pretty good one. And I just love the concept of it. You didn't like it?
To be honest, my very first thought was when I saw this film and it started off in the plane was like, Flo would love this. Because I know you kind of like those contained thrillers. Yeah. Like you said. And I myself wasn't a huge fan. I was looking forward to it because it's got Cillian Murphy in it. Yeah. Who I'm a big fan of. But I like the first half of it.
Sure.
And then it kind of went
It goes very
overboard.
Over the top.
Yeah.
It does. But I mean, the quick concept of that movie, I think McAdams sort of meets, you saw this more recently than I did. She meets Cillian Murphy, and then she meets him at the airport. She meets him at the airport, and then once she's on the plane, he's actually like sitting next to her, and then they start talking to each other, and then he's like, because she works for a hotel where like I wrote this part down, the U.S. Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security stays at. And Cillian Murphy tells her that he works for a domestic terrorist organization and he wants to kill him. And he sort of tells Rachel McAdams that if she doesn't help him and sort of relocates him to a designated room, that they're going to kill her father. And as you said, I mean, I think the first half sort of only plays on the plane.
Yeah.
But it does land, and then the story continues, and it sort of becomes a little bit of a chase there, and it ends up in a house and stuff. And I agree that it goes like overboard and over the top. father's played by Brian Cox, who is a great actor too.
Yeah.
And I just like these kind of thrillers. I really do. And I like the concept, and I that was sort of enough for me to let it be my number 7.
Yeah, fair enough. I think if they had stayed like on the plane the whole way through, and it would have kind of stayed with that vibe and didn't change into more of an action film,
I agree.
I think it would have ranked higher for me as well.
I completely agree. But that's sort of the movie that you just described is Flight Plan with Jodie Foster. That's a great movie.
Because you said you like plane films. Your very first pick on this podcast was a plane film.
It was, yeah. And I'm still mad about that because I also talked about Sex Education on that very same episode. And I don't know for what reason, that wasn't my pick. I was sort of like, I felt like I had to pick a movie. I don't know why, because we even explained the concept of the show. It could have been a TV show. But I would change that to Sex Education now, even though I liked 7,500. But I don't know why I didn't pick Sex Ed.
That reminds me of something that I want to tell you, kind of bring up. I completely forgot to talk about The Boys season 2 ending, which would have been probably been my pick in one of the episodes, but I completely forgot about it. I don't know why.
You talked about it, didn't you? It was on one of our covers.
Yeah, I talked about like the first season. I said that I watched like the first couple of episodes of Boys season 2, and that I'm going to talk about it again when I finish the season.
Right.
And it's not going to be my pick until I finish it. And then I finished it and I completely forgot about it. I think because the week I finished it, we did the special we did before DiCaprio. So my mind was somewhere completely different and I kind of forgot. But yeah. Just if you're wondering, where's The Boys season 2? It was amazing, but
I know you're all wondering out there. Gabe, talk about The Boys finally. No, you can talk about it in our next regular episode, right? You can retroactively take it as your pick. What's your number 7?
My number 7 is True Detective season 2.
Yeah, I did not think that was going to make your list. It's one of my... Yeah, of course. Yeah, it was one of the picks that fought for my number 10 spot.
All right. Well,
it didn't make it.
If you don't know, True Detective is a show I think you've all heard about, but I don't know if everybody has seen it. But the gimmick behind the show is it's always about a couple of detectives investigating a crime, and every season it's a different cast and a different time era even, which is very cool, and I very much like that concept, and I loved season 1 as I think everybody did. And what I heard from pretty much everyone is season 2 is worse.
Yes.
And it was.
Yes.
Wasn't bad, but it was worse.
Yes.
And it's got, Rachel McAdams in it, of course, in a very badass role, and I very much liked her in that.
Yes.
As a police, police detective, like sheriff detective. She works for the sheriff's department, I think. And it's got Colin Farrell in it, and Vince Vaughn. And Vince Vaughn plays this mafia gangster kind of guy, very serious person, which brings him in complete like contrast to Wedding Crashers, which I thought was very cool. And Colin Farrell also plays a very cool character, a very complicated like anti-hero kind of guy. But I have to say, I extremely liked Rachel McAdams in this. And even though I didn't love the show and I didn't love the ending, I did love her in this, and I would love to see her in a similar role again, because often when people try to play those kind of badass kind of people, especially when they come from very different kind of roles before that. Because in most films she's plays more of a sweet character or more of a shy character, or more of a normal kind of person, but she plays this very kind of depressed and very...
Yeah, she's an
lonely,
alcoholic, isn't she?
Yeah, alcoholic, and she plays a very tough character, and she does it superbly. I love it, and I would love to see her in like a role like that again, to be honest.
I completely agree with everything you said.
All right.
I have never agreed with you more.
Perfect.
It just didn't make my list because in comparison to season 1, I didn't like it. And
yeah, it's very different, and I expect a very different story.
Yeah. I think the highlight of season 2 is sort of, I don't know which episode it is, but one of the later episodes where...
The shootout?
I don't know if it's a shootout where she escapes this sex trafficking mansion.
That's like, right? No, it's like the second to last, or the one before that episode.
Yeah, that's a great episode. Really, really good. And I agree with you. She's terrific in this. Yeah, powerful stuff. And I completely agree that she's like completely different in that than what we've seen before.
And I think you really buy it. She really seems like this badass person that you wouldn't want to fuck with.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
It was a tough omission, but I'm glad that you put it on so we could talk about it.
Yeah. I'm glad that I got to see season 2 finally, because I've been meaning to do it, and this gave me the perfect excuse.
Yeah. Right. So my number 6, I'm going to be interested in hearing if that is one of the 16 movies you watched. My number 6 is a movie called The Lucky Ones.
It's not.
Okay.
There are a few, like 3 films that I didn't get to watch that I want to watch.
Please let me know. What are the 3 films?
It was, let me look it up. Aloha? No, it wasn't. I wasn't going to watch that.
I've been meaning to watch that movie for years, and I had it on my list now, and I still didn't watch it because it's like I know it's not going to make my list.
I also had it on my to watch lists, but I didn't get to, and I thought like there are like 2-3 films that are on my to watch list, but if I don't get to them, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
But I really want to watch Married Life, which I didn't get to.
Married Life.
Yes.
Oh, that's a deep cut though, right? Why would you like really want to watch that? That's like a small movie, no?
Well, I went through her filmography, and from the premise and from the ratings, this seems the most interesting and most promising. Because another film that I meant to watch but didn't get to was To the Wanderer with Ben Affleck, I think. And yeah, didn't have to watch that one, but would have been cool if I had time.
That's the Terrence Malick film.
Yeah.
I was never going to watch that. I'm not putting myself through another Malick.
It would have been interesting, but yeah, I thought it was going to be very slow probably, so yeah. And Devour I also thought about watching, but didn't get to.
My gosh. And everything else you've seen?
I think so.
I'm going to be very interested in that.
Different things that I've missed, but I think so. I even not rewatched, but I gave it a second try and finally watched the Eurovision Song Contest.
You gave it a second try?
And I finished it.
It's like, oh, you didn't finish it before. I got you.
Yeah.
Dude, every movie that you just listed that you didn't watch, every single one of those movies were on my I haven't seen it, but I am also not going to watch it list.
Oh, perfect.
But on my watch list, I had so many other things, and I would be so surprised. No, I did watch them now in preparation, and I would be so surprised if you had seen half of them. So we'll get to
it. I mean, I have like.
Well, there's one. The Lucky Ones. The Lucky Ones. That was one of those.
Lucky Ones
movies.
is also one that I didn't see yet.
Right. So The Lucky Ones is directed by Neil Berger, who did Limitless. I know you didn't like Limitless, but that was sort of interesting enough for me to give this a shot. And this completely surprised me. This is, I think, the best movie that I watched for this podcast, if that makes sense, right?
Wow.
This is my highest pick in terms of watching new things.
And still just a number 6.
Yeah. So The Lucky Ones, it stars Rachel McAdams, Tim Robbins, and Michael Pena. And I love Michael Pena and everything he's in. And there are 3 soldiers, and they're getting discharged for different reasons. For injuries, and Tim Robbins, I think he's older and he's done with it. And they all like get stranded on a plane. Well, not on a plane, but they're all, sorry, that was not accurate. They're all in the same plane. And then once the plane lands, they realize that, I think it's in Chicago, that the whole airport is shut down because there was like a power outing. Power outing? Power outing sounds completely wrong. The power went out.
A loss of power?
Yeah, the power went out. And, no planes were leaving. They had to like catch, the next plane to get to their final destination or whatever. But then they decided to to rent a car together and drive across the country together to get to their various destinations. And I really loved it, man. I mean, McAdams is sort of very young and innocently naive in that movie. And I loved the interaction that she had with the two guys, and especially with Michael Pena, because this movie, I mean, first of all, her accent is, once again, we're going to talk about her accent, I think, a couple of times in this episode. But this one, it's very weird. Yeah, you just got it.
Yeah.
But there's literally like, I think I mentioned this before on a different special episode too. it happens like when I watch good movies at home, or maybe also in the cinema, I like talk like if a certain scene happens and I'm like, I hope this doesn't go down this way, right? Or I hope, and then it actually doesn't go down that way. I'm always like, good. I'm just like, good. That's good. This is a good movie, because it doesn't just do the standard thing. And multiple times when I watched The Lucky Ones, I was like, this is a good film. And she was a big part of that because I thought her performance was really, really good. She sort of develops a crush on Michael Peña's character. This is 100% not a spoiler, but you can see, like, because she's wounded in the leg, I think she can't quite walk. Well, she can walk, but she's sort of stumbling along. And Michael Peña, he got shot in the dick.
All right.
And he can't get it up, which is a side story of the plot. I'm not kidding. It is about Michael Peña's character, his ability to get a boner. That is a side story of this movie. So please, everyone, watch The Lucky Ones. Because if that's not a selling point, I don't know what is. But I loved her interaction with Michael Peña because there's like a scene where she asks, or they watch Tim Robbins dancing with someone, and they're just sitting there next to each other. And she's like innocently asking him, sort of, she doesn't want to give away that she's interested in him, and she's like asking if he wants to dance, right? And the way she asks him, it's great acting. I'm not kidding. It's the little things that sort of somehow stick out to me, and she is great in that. And one last thing, there's a scene where a tornado hits, or like where she's driving with Michael Peña, and then it starts, there's like a thunderstorm or whatever, and it's hailing, and then there's a tornado coming. Some of the worst CGI I've seen, but that whole scene, the way it ends, is just literally incredible. Like I was not expecting those kind of scenes in that movie.
Sounds amazing.
Well, yeah, it involves Michael Peña's genital problems.
But it sounds interesting. Yeah, it's too
Doesn't
bad I
it?
didn't get to see
Wouldn't you like to know if he can get it up again? Watch The Lucky Ones to find out. But also, last thing, this is a funny movie, and that is like a genuinely funny movie. Great dialogue. Watch the trailer if you're interested in this movie, and it sort of tells you exactly what you're going to get. And I watched the trailer beforehand, and I was like, yeah, I want to watch this.
Is this classified as a comedy? Or would you more call it like what we talked about before, is like a drama with comedic elements?
Option 2.
All right.
Yeah. A real life comedy. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah. What's your 6?
My number 6 is The Notebook, which is probably not going to make your list.
No way.
Yeah.
That didn't make your Gosling list, though, did it? I don't think it did. And we were talking about it, like how
but
controversial
Gosling
that is.
just has a fucking amazing film.
Stop it with the bashing here. We're not bashing Rachel
It's not
McAdams
a bashing of
here.
Rachel McAdams. She's a great actress, but Ryan Gosling has just had more chances for amazing roles because he's worked with such amazing people.
The Notebook did not make my list.
All right.
But I like, once again, I said this on the Gosling special. I think this is a fine movie. It's just not a movie that I will ever go back to.
Yeah. I was also arguing if I should put this on number 7 or 6, and I'm still not sure. I made a snap decision at the very end before we started recording, because I do very much love her role in True Detective. I would probably rather rewatch kind of The Notebook, and I've seen this twice, and I think my favorite part of the film is the story between her and Ryan Gosling, and I'm not a huge fan of it jumping around with the elderly couple, which is a big story because it starts off with an elderly man visiting a woman in a retirement home. And
You rewatched this?
I didn't.
You didn't?
I think I rewatched it like half a year ago or like a year ago, so I
Okay.
didn't want to rewatch it again. And he kind of tells her the story of the film, which is the story between Ryan Gosling's character and Rachel McAdams' character. And that is the best part. And I think it's a very sweet love story, and they do play a pretty good couple, I think. Very convincing couple. But yeah, that's why it's not high. That's why it's not. The scenes between the two of them are great, but the overarching like plot with the two elderly people wasn't that riveting. And yeah, it was hard to pick it or decide between True Detective Season 2 and The Notebook. And I don't think I have to say anything more about The Notebook. I think everybody knows what it's about. It's like one of the most well-known romantic films ever. And I looked it up. Notebook came out before Wedding Crashers, and I think that and Mean Girl, which both came out in 2004, probably her breakout roles. You're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a very sweet love story, and I think everybody should see it at least once. But
I think this is one of the better purely romantic movies over the last 20 years or whatever. I agree. And their dynamic once again is great, for sure. It's just, I love airplane movies. I love courtroom thrillers, and I'm just, that genre is not really for me. Well, you know what I mean. It's just, it's not going to make my list.
Yeah, fair
It
enough.
has to be especially good to make my list.
Yeah. All right. So what's your number 5?
My number 5.
It's getting very interesting.
Yeah, is a movie that you talked about before, that was on your list already. It's Game Night.
All right.
Which we saw together. I think this was this was the first movie that we both missed. We saw it together, but we missed the first couple of minutes because I thought it started at 8:30, but it turned out it started at like 8:15 or whatever.
We did?
Do you remember this? Yeah. So we sort of rushed in because we realized it too late, and then it was already like I saw this with you. I definitely did. Right?
I know. We saw this together, but I don't remember us missing the beginning because I rewatched this as well, and
it was just a couple of seconds.
Thought I remembered like the very, very start of it, because at the very start you got this opening with like game pieces.
Yeah. Well, we genuinely just missed the first couple of seconds, I guess. Right. It's difficult to tell how much we missed. But yeah, Game Night, this was a complete surprise, and I know that a lot of people who watch a lot of movies were sort of surprised by this movie as to how good it actually was, because it on the outside it looks like just another American comedy, as like there are so many every year, but this one really is better than most, I thought. And I'm a big fan of board games, and sort of I love game nights, and I know that we had some trivia nights together, and I'm always I love doing those. And for people like that, Game Night is really that. I mean, it's about a couple, Rachel McAdams and Jason Bateman, who love game nights and always invite their friends. And I think it's then their brother, Jason Bateman's brother, played by Kyle Chandler, who sort of plans out a game night. And then he invites them over, and they're all like sitting there, and then he gets kidnapped, and everyone thinks it's part of his game. But maybe it is, or maybe it isn't. You kind of have to watch the movie for that, right? But it just has like genuinely funny scenes throughout that movie. I just remember loving it.
Dude, it is a good film, and it's better than I actually remembered it to be.
Yeah.
Because I thought the humor was quite flat the first time. I don't know why, but I really enjoyed it the second time, and I laughed at a couple of the scenes, although I already knew most of the punchlines.
Yeah.
I think what kind of turned me off of the film was the ending, which
dude.
I'm still not a huge fan of, but it's better than I thought it was.
I just remember, I'm trying to stay vague here, but there's like this one scene where I think it's on a plane, right? Yeah. But there's a great... Oh, I didn't realize, yeah. Didn't even realize that until now. But there's this one, I remember that we both had to laugh out loud when it was in theaters. It is hard to talk about now without sort of spoiling it. No. It's literally... I think Kyle Chandler says something like at the end. Oh, I can't talk about it without giving it away. I can't talk about it. But
it's very funny, and I think like the friends are just great.
Yeah,
who
Denzel Washington.
Of course, yeah, because not just them at the game. That's their friends, and Jesse Plemons,
right?
Who's just the very awkward cop neighbor.
Yeah,
who just wants to join in on the game night. Yeah,
but they don't really want him to join. Yeah. There's this great scene where he's like, they're playing what is it? Is it Pictionary? No, I think it's Pictionary, where they're drawing things.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like trying to. His clue is the Green Mile, the movie.
Yeah.
And he's like painting, like he's drawing, and
a man who's crying,
and everyone is like, "Oh, cry baby," whatever. Talking like the crying game, or throwing out random movies. But then at the end, he's like, "No, that's me sitting in the theater watching The Green Mile." I thought everyone cried watching that movie because he's not joking, which makes it funny. He's like being completely serious.
He's got this very serious delivery of every word that he says, and just, I love sitting together with friends, competing in games of skill. And just looks at him, that's serious. All right.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a bit like the movie plays with its suspension of disbelief because Rachel McAdams and Jason Bateman, they get into crazy shit during that movie, but every time they're like talking as if it was like the most normal thing, like a car chase or whatever, where Bateman wants to smash his car into the plane, and he's like, I have a great idea. You're gonna hate it. And Rachel McAdams is like, are you gonna do the Taken 3 ending where he crashes a car into the plane? And he's like, yeah. Like no one would have that.
I didn't know you saw that one.
Yeah. Does he say that?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's like, or I think the conveyor belt is the one that you talk about, where he's like miming for her to drop a box on someone.
Yeah, if you pay attention to the film, like most of the films and most of the scenes and the things that they do in the more actiony scenes is kind of based on games. So like they do charades or whatever to kind of get out of tough spots, which is very funny.
Right. This is a great movie. I really think so, and it's like a fun Sunday night movie to, it's just a blast, and it's a good old comedy.
And it shows how funny Rachel McAdams can be, just in that bar scene where she doesn't take things as serious as she should be in that moment.
I don't remember. I got to be honest with you. I did not rewatch this as well.
Where she gets her hands on a gun and she thinks it's a toy gun.
Oh, yeah, vaguely. I vaguely.
It's very funny.
This. Yeah, but I mean, yeah, and I agree with what you said too. I think the whole cast is good. For sure.
All right.
What's your 5?
My number 5 is a film that I had to borrow from you. It's A Most Wanted Man, which is going to be high on your list, I suspect.
I can't find it. It is higher on my list. There it is. I found it. Yeah,
is it
higher.
Under the best thing?
No, I just put some numbers next to it. It is higher. Not a lot, but a bit. Let's talk about it later.
All right. So your number 4.
My number 4 is a late addition to my list.
All right.
Here we go. Little backstory. I saw this movie years ago, and I rated it a 6 out of 10, which is not good. Right? It's average.
It's not great.
Could be better. And I was like, it's been a while. I can't really remember the main sort of twists that the story takes. So I was like, I should. No.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You do? I don't think you do.
I think so.
I don't think
who knows?
So I decided I was going to find time to watch this as well, because I had started rewatching it months ago, or like a month ago maybe. But then I was like, I'm not going to finish it. But then I was like, I am going to finish it. I now want to know how this ends. And I rewatched it, and it made my number 4 now. And I'm happy that I did rewatch it. It's State of Play.
All right, it's not what I thought.
No, I was going to say, what did you think?
Passion.
Oh, did you watch Passion?
I watched Passion.
You watched Passion?
Or the day before that, yeah.
I love it. Is that going to make your list?
No.
Oh, okay. I also fought hard for
Yours?
my number 10 spot.
All right,
it was already there.
Was never going to make my list.
Yeah, because you have no taste. State of Play. It's just that weird.
But I watched State of Play as well. And
oh, is that not going to make your list?
That was a maybe for my number 10.
Unbelievable. So State of Play.
Anyway, you go.
Yeah, I do. I will. This is not based on a true story, right? I don't think it is.
It's not based on... No.
But it is a good old journalism drama. And it stars Russell Crowe, who's always great. Russell Crowe, Rachel McAdams, Ben Affleck, Helen Mirren. Jason Bateman is in this too.
Yeah.
Very small part. I don't know who.
Viola Davis is a very
Viola
small role
Davis
as
a
corner.
yeah. Right.
I was very surprised to see her.
Yeah, but this, I mean, Ben Affleck plays a congressman, I think, who sort of has ambitions to become president, and his assistant gets killed, and he sort of, Russell Crowe is his friend, and he's sort of investigating what happened there, and he's sort of trying to help out his friend, trying to get to the bottom of what actually happened. Robin Wright is in this too, who was Claire in House of Cards. David Harbour in it as well. Yeah, you're right. And I just, I love good journalism thrillers, dramas or whatever. And I think I didn't remember the final sort of reveal. And that sort of solidified this movie as a movie that I really, really liked. Because I had forgotten about that final one. And I liked it a lot. I don't know what to say. This, you said you thought about putting it on your 10 spot?
It was like a soft maybe at the start, but then I actually wrote down what I could put on my 10 list, and it was exactly 10 films, and it was perfect. So I thought like State of Play might be my number 10 if I couldn't find anything else. But yeah, like you said, with the final twist, because I thought it was an okay movie, but like the final twist was a bit too much. I think this should have stopped before that.
I liked it, man. I know why you say that, and I think some people might agree with you. For whatever reason, I liked it.
It's like my same problem I have with Passion. It was like at the start, it was
I can't
so
believe you
weird,
watched Passion. I cannot believe you watched Passion.
I thought like we talked about Numero Pass just
we did
very recently, so
that's fine, yeah.
I thought let's do it. And Brian DePalma is a very acclaimed director.
He's one of the great directors.
I noticed that I'm not a huge De Palma fan watching this film.
What have you seen?
I thought that, like Scarface and the Untouchables and one other film, I think. One other film that I actually liked.
And you didn't like what? The Untouchables?
No.
You didn't like The Untouchables?
I didn't. I know I'm like one of the very few people who actually says that, probably. But there are a lot of films that I haven't seen of his. That I didn't like Mission Impossible. What else is there? I think there's one film that he did that I actually kind of liked, but Carrie, I did like Carrie. That's it. But apart from that, and yeah,
I need a new host. Co-host.
I'm so sorry.
I mean, I honestly have no words. But to be fair, you have not seen the golden Brian De Palma age films.
I haven't seen
Carrie is the one.
Whatever.
Sorry?
Femme Fatale, isn't that one of his?
No.
Fatal. No, wait.
Fatal.
Whatever. But the thing is, yeah, Passion.
Sorry, hold on 1 second. Yes,
Yeah.
okay. No, sorry. I thought you were going to go back to State of Play, but go on with Passion.
No. But Passion, I think, has the same kind of problem, because I thought it was weird to start, and then it got kind of interesting. Then was the ending, and I was like, all right. And then at the end, it did another twist. Then it did another twist, and I was like, all right, you're going a bit far. And then it did another twist, which I thought, all right, you lost me. Fuck off. This is too much, dude. You should have stopped like 10 minutes ago.
Well, let's talk about those movies when we get to it on the honorables list, because that is an honorable for me. But you're right, Femme Fatale is Brian De Palma, but I was going to say, Brian De Palma, his golden age was the 80s. So you watched Carrie.
Like the end of the 70s, though.
Well,
right.
End of 70s, early 80s.
Yeah. Carrie was cool.
Carrie is amazing. And hold on, I know we're like drifting, but it was 80s here. Okay, so 78 was The Fury, great. Dress to Kill, 80, fantastic. Blowout, 81, brilliant. Body Double, 84. These are like the 80s, early 80s, late 70s movies. Scarface is in there too. That are honestly worth watching. Yeah, no, I agree that his later films weren't as good as his 80s movies. But we're absolutely all over the place. Let's talk about State of Play.
Sorry, you go ahead.
I just love the way Russell Crowe interacts with Rachel McAdams in that movie, because he's sort of the veteran journalist, and I really, really like the way they did it in this one, where it's not too cheesy in the way that he sort of dislikes her first, and then he sort of obviously grows fond of her and her work. I thought that was very well done, with a scene at the end that is very cheesy, but also earned. And once again, I love a good journalism drama, and the story is, you didn't like the very end, and I can understand that. It worked for me, and because I'm just a fan of these kind of movies.
Yeah, I think it was also a bit too much Russell Crowe and too little Rachel McAdams for my taste.
I don't think you can have too much Russell Crowe.
I'm a huge fan of his in a lot of films. I love him in Nice Guys, but I don't know. In a couple of films, he just seems so uninteresting.
You're outrageous today.
I know,
Gabe. Outrageous. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is, I think, your number 9, Midnight in Paris. Or was it your 10?
It was my number 9, and I want to say, before I let you rave about this movie,
Please.
which is a fantastic movie, by the way.
It is.
Everything magical in this movie happens without Rachel McAdams.
Yes,
that's all I'm going to say.
Very true.
I mean, it's that's why when I first wrote down my list, I was like, I'm never going to put my Midnight in Paris on it, because it's just not her movie.
Yeah, that's so true. And like you said, yes, most of the interesting things happen without her. That's why it's number 4. I struggle putting.
So
Well, I
that's
don't know.
number 4?
I very much struggle putting it at my number 4 because I wasn't sure, and I struggled putting it over A Most Wanted Man.
Right.
But all in all, this is one of my favorite Woody Allen films, and I think it's one of his best. But it's just so interesting in what he does, and I think it's interesting because of who Rachel McAdams plays, because it's kind of a very different role. But we kind of see a lot of people in her and what she does, and just being so, I don't know, egotistical at times, and especially at the very end, she's like, "Well, I did this. What the fuck are you gonna do? Who the fuck cares? So
She's a
let's just
complete
go
bitch.
home." Yeah,
Yes.
she is.
She's
And I
like
thought
Mean
it was-
Girls bitchy.
Well, in Mean Girls, she isn't actually that much of a bitch.
Oh, come, what?
She is later. Well, like a whole plot point is that
Okay,
she's
fair enough. I know what you
being
mean.
bold, and that's why she kind of tries to bully the Mean Girls back by becoming a Mean Girl, and then
Well,
she's
that's
still
Lindsay
a
Lohan.
sweet kind of person. Well, yeah, she tries to be a Mean Girl to the Mean Girls, who is the Mean Girl is Lindsay Lohan,
What do you mean?
right?
No.
No, is it the other way
It's
around?
the other way around.
Of course, dude. It's been such a long time since I've seen it. Right. I thought like Rachel McAdams was the main.
No, it's Lindsay
But
Lohan.
it's Lindsay Lohan, of
Lindsay
course,
Lohan,
yeah. Anyway.
Let's talk about passion.
It's still a very sweet film. And Midnight in Paris is about Owen Wilson's character who plays Woody Allen, pretty much.
He does. He absolutely does. As every character in Woody Allen movies.
Yeah.
Every
Well,
male.
even more so than like Joaquin Phoenix. Well,
yes.
also plays a very awkward kind of guy, but Midnight in Paris is
You're
just the Woody Allen impression.
I also think of Jesse Eisenberg in When in Rome. That's also like very Woody Allen.
And Cafe Society maybe also a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, he plays the fiance of Rachel McAdams, and they go to Paris, and they actually live in Hollywood and Beverly Hills or something like that. And they kind of go there, and Owen Wilson's so in love with the city and the romanticness of it. And is that even a word, romanticness?
I don't think so, but I think we know what you mean.
Yeah, sure. And
Romance?
yeah, just loves Paris in the rain and everything like that. And she's just the complete opposite. And they go out with some of their friends, played by Michael Sheen, who's this, like they say in the film, a very pedantic man
He is.
who just thinks he knows everything better. And there's this great scene which makes you hate Rachel McAdams' character so much, which is a tribute to her and her acting in that scene. Is just of Michael Sheen explaining something about a Picasso painting.
I know.
And
the scene.
then
Yeah.
Owen Wilson, who every time at midnight he kind of takes a walk and he kind of travels back in time to the 1920s in Paris and meets Picasso and Hemingway and Salvador Dali and pretty much every famous person.
Ridiculous cast.
Yeah. Yeah, extremely. And so he knows a lot of stuff because he actually talked to these people. And Michael Sheen, who's this very intellectual man, claims to know everything and gives this private tour to them and explains about something about the painting. And Owen Wilson's like, oh, wait, you're actually wrong about that.
Well, it's
she's
about,
like-
the painting is like Sheen goes into like, it's a painting of like a girl, and it's this beautiful abstract picture of a girl.
And
Right.
he explains, well, the girl that he's talking about is actually not a girl, and what he tried to do is something else, etc. Because he actually meets the girl Picasso painted, because he falls in love with her, played by Marion Cotillard. And
Who was in The Little Prince, right?
yeah, dude, she's had so many films with exactly the same actor twice.
Yep.
Anyway, let's talk about it later. But then Owen Wilson's like, all right, no, that's the extra story. Just be quiet. Just, you might learn something if you listen to Michael Sheen's character. He's like, no, I actually know this. Nobody believes him, of course. And he tries to write a book, Owen Wilson's character, and she's like, oh, maybe he would read it. Maybe he would do you that favor. And he's like, well, if he wants my critique, like his opinion is the most important ever. And she kind of agrees with him, just puts Michael Sheen's character on this pedestal and just downplays Owen Wilson's character, who's her fucking fiance. And just that level of obliviousness to her partner and just looking up to this person who shouldn't be that important to her is just such an interesting character, and just she does it very well.
Yeah, I mean, this has some incredibly funny scenes, and I would say that this is by far Woody Allen's most accessible movies for our generation.
Yeah,
I think everyone loves, and a lot of people have seen that movie and love that movie. And yeah, I mean, if you, I don't want to get into this now because a lot of people sort of boycott Woody Allen films, but if you like these kind of movies, I would encourage you to seek out his early movies too, because they're just as good as Midnight in Paris.
I agree. Yeah. All right. Well, that leaves your number 3 spot.
Right. My number 3 is A Most Wanted Man.
All right.
That was your 5, right?
It was my 5, right?
Yeah. What did you think of it?
I was surprised because I had no idea what the films were about. And the thing is, it plays in Germany and they play German characters, but they speak in English.
I know, it's so
which
weird.
Which confused me at the very beginning. And I really liked this film. And the thing is, why I put it at my number 5, I argued to put it in my number 4 because, well, her role is bigger in that. But the thing is, why I love A Most Wanted Man, or loved it as much when I first saw it, is Philip Seymour Hoffman, and his German accent is impeccable. If I didn't know he was an American actor, I would have believed that he's fucking German. It's the best German accent that I've ever heard by an American actor, and it's
but you mean
great.
like a German English accent?
Of
That's
course,
the thing,
yeah.
right? Yeah, because it is so weird that he's talking English as well, speaking English.
But he speaks very German English, which is very great. And I thought the plot was so interesting and intriguing, and I did like Rachel McAdams' storyline, which is about her taking care of a person who might or might not be affiliated with a terrorist organization.
Right. Well, Philip Seymour Hoffman, who, by the way, plays a character named Günther. I mean, I didn't think I was ever going to see a movie where Philip Seymour Hoffman plays a character called Günther. But he works. Who does he work for? Is it like?
Well, the German government kinda, but he at one meeting with a couple of government officials says the organization or the department that he works for doesn't exist on paper because they operate outside of the law.
But they're sort of trying to not infiltrate, but like turn certain terrorist people. What is it? I haven't seen this in a while. But
they work together with the American government on a certain level, and they try to find terrorists before they can do anything.
Right, because and then they try to turn them, right?
No, not really. I don't think so. Well, I think it's one of the parts because they're not sure if the guy that they're following is actually a terrorist, and so they kind of try to think about like.
But then, of course, they turn him because that's the whole thing, like, right? They
just find them.
What?
I think they just find the terrorists, and then they actually talk about giving them up to the Americans so they can send them to Guantanamo Bay.
Right, but they hatch out a whole plot towards the end.
Yeah, towards the end, but I don't think that's their actual only purpose.
Well, the purpose is like to seek out more terrorists, no?
Well, they do have this. Well, not terrorists. They have a lot of informants and like the.
Right, but it all sort of leads towards terrorist organizations.
Of course, but I don't think it's their job to recruit suspected terrorists.
No, I'm not saying recruit. Maybe that was wrong. I said it. Maybe that was no. I'm just working with certain people who have affiliations with these kind of people to catch them.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I mean, so and Philip Seymour Hoffman plays like the head of that department, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And McAdams, she plays a lawyer who's, as you said, sort of defending the main guy that Philip Seymour Hoffman's character is chasing.
Mm-hmm.
And Willem Dafoe is also in this movie. Herbert Grönemeyer is in this movie.
Yeah. Yes. And Daniel Brühl.
Daniel Brühl, yeah. Nina Hoss. Great cast.
And it's so interesting because everybody does a German accent, like Rachel McAdams and
Daniel Brühl.
Yeah, of course, yeah, and Philip Seymour Hoffman. But is Willem Dafoe's character supposed to be German? Because I feel like at the very beginning he does a bit of a German accent, then he completely loses it at times. I'm not sure if he's supposed to be German or from some other country, and I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah,
but yeah.
But again, I forgot to mention this because I wanted to tell you this. A little backstory in this movie. I saw this in theaters in London when it came out because I was over there with my dad because we saw this the Zach Braff Kickstarter screening of Wish I Was Here.
Mm-hmm.
And we had we stayed in London for a couple of days, and we also saw one other movie, which was A Most Wanted Man.
Mm-hmm. Because
my father is also a big fan of Philip Seymour Hoffman, and I just remember because we saw it in the same theater as it's this huge complex. It's this huge is complex a word?
Is it a mall or?
Right, it was in a mall, yeah.
Right.
But there's like this gigantic theater where every single screening room is like an IMAX here. And so I just remember sitting there in the last row watching A Most Wanted Man, and I was like, is this what cinemas are supposed to be like? Like, you know, just watching regular movies in these huge, gigantic theaters. It was so amazing. But I remember I didn't like the movie.
Oh, wow. Okay.
For whatever reason, I didn't like it. But years later, I always wanted to give it another shot, because on paper, this is a movie that is sort of not made for me, but I should love this movie.
There's no plane in this one.
There's no what, sorry?
No plane in this one.
There's no plane in this one. No, I don't know. But there's Philip Seymour Hoffman in this one. And I always sort of wanted to give it another shot, and I bought it on Blu-ray, and I was so happy that I did, because I watched it again and I loved it. I genuinely couldn't tell you why I didn't like it the first time. But yeah, I mean, the second time worked.
I have that as well with a lot of films.
Yeah. And the ending of this movie is fantastic. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I don't want to point out Philip Seymour Hoffman again, because this is a Rachel McAdams special, but his performance, not only in this movie, but especially in this last scene, is just perfect.
Yeah. And, well, Rachel McAdams, I think her relationship with the Most Wanted Man is extremely interesting, and she plays a very interesting character. And she does a fine German accent.
Yeah.
But about the ending, I have to think about something that you just said in this episode is, I love it when I watch a film as well where I did not expect the ending. I expected something extremely different to happen.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, interesting. It's like this kind of film, but something so surprising happened. That's also why I thought this film was amazing. And just like you said, at the ending, Philip Seymour Hoffman is great, and it just takes a whole nother turn. It makes it so much more real, because it seems like a real thing that would happen. It's not just, life is complicated, and yeah, that's cool. It's very cool how they did it.
Yeah, and the last guy, Willem Dafoe, I think he works at a bank, because the Most Wanted Man, he's sort of he's left some money, right? Or someone left him some money.
His father, he's left him,
and Dafoe sort of is in charge of that money now, or whatever, and together with McAdams and the main guy, the Most Wanted Man, he's called Karpov.
Mm-hmm.
They're just trying to figure out what to do with it, because he doesn't want the money, and then Philip Seymour Hoffman's team comes into play, and don't want to give away too much, but yeah.
And Rachel McAdams, of course, wants to help him because he didn't come into Germany legally, so he can't just go to the bank and get his stuff. And so she helps him out, because I think she works for some kind of organization who helps people immigrate into Germany or seek asylum.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's a great movie, and I think it's a movie that not a lot of people have seen.
Yeah.
And seek it out if you can. It's a great movie.
What I just absolutely love about the podcast and doing those special episodes, there are a lot of films, especially with this episode, there's just time and the motivation to seek out films that I haven't seen before.
Yeah.
And I love it when I find those kind of
cramming
films.
Movies in.
Actually very excited for next week, where I just have a lot of time on my hands where I don't have to watch 5 fucking films in 2 days.
Yeah. You're still going to do it, though.
No. Like, there's 1 or 2 things that I'm going to watch because I want to watch them, so I have something to talk about, but I can take it at my own speed, if you know what I mean.
I do. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is a film. I guess it has to be on your list because it's an amazing film, and you actually recommended me this like 10 episodes ago, 15 episodes ago, when I talk about the film Unorthodox, and you said this reminded you of the film. This reminded you of the film Disobedience. That's my number 3, which is, I watched this special for the first time, and I had a fucking blast. Is this on your list?
Not on my
list.
list.
It is. It is not. All right, I thought you really loved this film as well, but...
Fought for number 10.
All right. Well, you mentioned it the very first time when we talked about Unorthodox, like I said, like 15 episodes ago, whatever. And it very much reminded me of the show. And it is just such an interesting story. And I thought Rachel McAdams was fucking great in this. I loved her character, and I loved the story that it told. It's about Rachel Weisz plays a woman who moved to New York, and her father was a rabbi, and she was part of this very Orthodox Jewish community in London, or not London, somewhere in the UK. And she gets a call that her father has died, and she goes back, and she's not very welcome there because she left the community, and she was the rabbi's daughter, and she abandoned them. And she lives with one of her old friends, whose name I've forgotten, sadly. It's a very unusual name.
What, McAdams' character?
Well, yeah. Well, her husband, because she was very good friends with McAdams' character and this guy, and now they're married. And McAdams and the man. Right. McAdams' name is, goddammit, Esti, which is funny because it's also the name of the protagonist in Unorthodox. I guess it's a common Hebrew name.
Yeah.
And then they kind of show why she left and what her relationship with McAdams' character was, and the man that McAdams married, and her being so uncomfortable where she is now, and trying to argue why she's away from that community and showing the difference in life. And I thought it was an amazing story, and I absolutely loved it. And like I said, Rachel McAdams and also Rachel Weisz, how do you pronounce the name?
Weisz. Right.
Sure, amazing chemistry in this film. And yeah,
that's not the only thing they share in this film.
Well,
there's a spit scene, right?
And I loved it.
Of course you did. You bastard.
All right. Not to spoil anything, but
what do you mean spoil? Yeah. It is obviously a love story between the two. I think it's on the cover.
I didn't expect it. Fair enough. Yeah, it's on the cover probably. Yeah, I didn't really look at
the kissing on the cover.
Yeah. Well, all right. So let's talk about that. Yeah, it's about them having had a relationship before and then kind of reigniting that when she comes back, and there's this very intense sex scene. And I think it's just beautifully made and just well shot.
Yeah,
I'm saying this very objectively.
I know you are. Yeah. And by the way, the husband of Rachel McAdams' character is played by Alessandro Nivola, who's the guy who leads the karate den in Art of Self-Defense.
Oh, really?
Great.
I noticed.
Great
I think it was his first English role, if I'm not mistaken. I think I read that somewhere.
Which one now? Which one?
His.
What was his first English
Disobedience.
Role? Oh, he's in Art of Self-Defense. Oh, that was, but he was in Face Off. He was in Face Off in 97.
He was?
Yeah.
Right, then sorry, there must have been another actor in this film.
Yeah, he's a Native American.
All right, sorry. But yeah.
Native, is that right again? Had that before.
Well, no, he's not.
Well, no, he's not a native.
He's born
an American.
Yeah, he was born in the US.
Yeah.
I guess. But yeah, I thought it was a great film, and I'm so glad that I saw it for this podcast. And yeah, a cool story.
I'm both surprised that this made your list, and then again, I'm not surprised at all. I knew you hadn't seen it, or I thought you hadn't seen it before. But it makes sense that now that you saw it, it's going to be higher on your list.
Well, the thing is, it's not just... Although I love the film, I think Midnight in Paris might have been higher. But the thing is, just her performance in this is amazing.
Got way more
which is
to do
why
yeah,
that's why I had to put it higher, and I want to talk about it more because in some of these films, her role isn't as big as others, I guess.
Yeah. Always.
This
really
shows her. Yeah, this really shows her acting skills, and there's really a pattern with male and female actors. Oftentimes when we talk about the top 10 list of female actresses, you kind of see that they're more in the supporting role, so it's often about the protagonist and the other people, so it's kind of hard to find a lot of examples of them being an amazing and a big role.
Right, but McAdams has worked, she had a lot of leading roles over the years as well. I know what you're saying, I agree, but I was surprised, because I obviously studied her filmography now, and she's done a lot of leading work as well. Some of that won't make my list, but yeah.
Everything we've talked about so far is her in a supporting role.
Well, Disobedience isn't.
Yeah, not Disobedience, not True Detective. But
Red Eye, she's the lead in Red Eye.
And Red Eye, all right.
She's the lead in
but
Game Night.
Most Wanted Man and...
Game Night, she's the lead
enough.
in The Lucky Ones. One
all right,
of the leads.
Scratch what I just said.
No, but I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
But in difference to DiCaprio or
of course,
Bradley Cooper or something like that, they're pretty much always the leading role.
Yeah.
Or Jake Gyllenhaal or Gosling.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt.
So, so we have the same 2 and 1. We just don't know if it's in the same. What do you mean? How is that a surprise?
I didn't expect to be in your like top 2.
I don't know what your 2 and what your 1 is going to be. My 2 is About Time.
My number 2 is not About Time.
Yeah, well, then it's your 1. I'm sorry,
my
but
number
we
1,
can't like postpone the discussion much further because the next one is going to be my number 1.
Right, so let's talk about About Time. You go first.
Well, About Time is directed by Richard Curtis, written and directed by Richard Curtis, who is, without any question, for me, the most talented writer-director when it comes to romantic comedies, period. And he's done, like, he wrote Love Actually, or he directed Love Actually too, and Four Weddings and a Funeral, and I mean, more, right? But About Time, I think this is one of those movies, just like Midnight in Paris, that a lot of people know, because it sort of managed to break out of the film lover bubble where like everyone loved that movie and everyone saw that movie. It was like a movie that everyone like had to see because everyone was talking about it, because it's just a great story. I mean, so beautifully played by both Donald Gleason and Rachel McAdams, and also I mean the father Bill Nighy is just a scene stealer, as he always is. Also in Love Actually, it's one of my favorite bits in Love Actually. But it's about a guy who discovers at the age of 21, his dad tells him that all the men in his family are able to time travel when they sort of enter a dark cupboard or whatever, and then they can travel back to a place in time that they want. And that gimmick leads to a lot of humor, and it also leads to a lot of very, very beautiful moments, especially between the father and the son. And McAdams is the girl that he falls in love with, and then loses her because he discovers things about time travel where he did something, and then the first meeting that they had together sort of didn't occur anymore because he changed something before that, and so everything changed, the butterfly effect or whatever. And then he's trying to do everything to see her again. And, I mean, it's just such a beautiful movie, and I think everyone loves that movie.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing is, I haven't seen this. Well, it took me a long time to see this. I didn't see this for this podcast. I saw it before, but I was meant to see it, and I always heard what an amazing film this is. And I think, like 3 years ago, I went to London for the very first time, and I thought, well, I'm here, let's pick up some Blu-rays, right? Because I got the original title and everything. And I bought About Time, and I finally watched it, and I absolutely loved it, like I think most people do. And I think it's just one of the best love stories and one of the best time travel films, which is an interesting combination that I never would have expected like that. And I just absolutely fell in love with Rachel McAdams, and I do every time that I see this film. I think she's just such a sweet character and just such a cool combination with her and Domhnall Gleeson. They're just both so sweet people, and just how they meet and how they react to each other, and every time they meet, because they're a couple of first times they meet because of time travel and things go wrong and he has to do it again, etc. And every time they have this chemistry as if they've always known each other and they're just supposed to be with each other. It just makes it so sweet and so rewarding when you see them together. Yeah. Which is why this film is just so touching. Even if you've seen it before, I think it just works over and over.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I just love seeing it, and it just, I don't know, I think everybody has this feeling with this film, which just shows the genius of Richard Curtis, of his writing. It's just, you see yourself in the protagonist or as the other person, and you're like, dude, I would love this to happen, and those are like things that you fantasize about, of course, like redoing things and doing them better, and that's what you kind of would use them for at times. And I think that just makes this film so absolutely great, and one of my favorite romantic films of all time. And that's why it's my number one spot.
Yeah, it's one of those films where you watch it and from the first moment you know it's going to be good.
Yeah, you do. Domhnall Gleeson is just fucking perfect for this.
Yeah. And also, of course, Margot Robbie's in this.
Yeah, that's his very first crush.
Yeah, and I love it where he's like, because I think she stays over for the summer or whatever before he meets Rachel McAdams' character. And then at the end, he's like confessing his love to her. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "Oh, I wish you told me sooner." Yeah. So then he travels back in time. He tells her at the beginning of the summer, and she's like, "No, tell me again at the end of the summer, I'm not ready yet. I love that, man. It's just believable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's just this one very intense and more serious scene, because what I also love about this film, it doesn't follow the traditional arc of a romantic film. Normally, when there's a romantic film, people meet, they fall in love, there's a drama, and then they kind of reconcile or whatever.
Sure.
This film does not have that. Its premise and its whole story, it just make it into something so different, so perfect, because it doesn't have that whole arc of, oh my god, now we're no longer in love. It doesn't have that. What it has is a couple of other very intense scenes, and one of them involves having to decide what to do, because as he then finds out, the butterfly effect can affect a lot of things and not just his life.
Yep.
So what does he choose? Does he help one person but change something very important to himself or not?
Yep.
I think his decision is the most relatable thing, and I love it that they did it that way, and yeah, makes
Absolutely.
it so great.
Yeah. And it's just so many funny moments too. I mean, there's and also beautiful moments where the mother asks Rachel McAdams, like, what are your weaknesses? She's like, I have a weakness for your son. It's like, oh,
yeah, that's so sweet.
It is sweet. Or one other scene. What was it? I just had it and now I lost it. What was it? No.
This is a very comedic, very great and comedic scene where her parents come around for the very
That's
first
the
time.
one. Yeah, that's the one. That is the one. Yes.
She's like, all right, well, do we live together? No, let's not tell them that. It's all right.
Do we have
Anything
sex
else?
together?
Well, are we having sex together? Yeah, but no oral. So of course, so how would that come up? He meets them and, well, hey, it's going great. So, but no oral sex, I promise. You just look at him. It's like, give me a second, right? And he goes away. Yeah.
Great. Okay, whatever. Okay, so my number one spot, which is going to be your number two, the best thing I've seen from Rachel McAdams is Spotlight, which
Of course, yeah.
won Best Picture.
Mm-hmm.
And is again one of those movies that I just loved even more the second time.
Yeah,
because for whatever, like, when I watched this in theaters, my expectations were sort of very high, and it couldn't quite live up to it because I heard how good it was supposed to be. But the second time I saw it, I just absolutely loved it. I mean, it's hard to love a movie that deals with such a tough subject, obviously, because I mean, I don't love what they talk about in the movie, but I love the movie as a whole. And it's about the whole Catholic church sex scandal. I mean, or child abuse scandal, right? I don't know. Yeah.
I listened to a discussion, and I think something very important that Stephen Fry said. It's a real life discussion. He said, let's not call it child abuse or child molestation, just call it child rape, because that's what it is. And he's right. I think child abuse sounds way lighter than child rape, and that's the case. And it's a horrible thing that is happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway. But I mean, it tells the real story about the Spotlight team in Boston. They work at the Boston Globe, another journalism drama, just like State of Play, but the far superior one.
Yeah.
And it's about them, this whole team of journalists getting to the bottom of what is going on with the church in Boston. And then the movie also sort of then reveals that this is not just limited to Boston, obviously, and everyone knows the story because it was a global story. But this just sort of tells them finding things out in Boston. And then I think this was in 2001. I mean, the movie came out a couple of years ago, but they uncovered the story in 2001, and then the whole discovery was postponed because 9/11 happened. That's also in the movie. And yeah, I mean, the four members of the Spotlight team: Rachel McAdams, Mark Ruffalo, who has never been better in anything, and
got very much snubbed at the Oscars.
Who did he lose against?
Marco Rylance for Bridge of Spies.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Michael Keaton, obviously, and Brian Darcy James. And you got Liev Schreiber as the new...
Stanley Tucci.
I think it's Liev Schreiber, right? Schreiber?
Liev Schreiber, yeah.
Liev Schreiber?
And what's the guy's name who also
John
works...
Slattery.
John Slattery.
I love him.
He's cool, yeah.
And the director of Spotlight is Tom McCarthy. And I'm now drawing connections that I haven't drawn before. Tom McCarthy made one of my favorite movies, which is The Station Agent, which stars Peter Dinklage. and also John Slattery. Just drawing that connection right now. But it's just, first of all, I love the color palette in this movie. And I know it always sounds douchey when we say that, but I just love the way this movie looks. It looks so cold, and it's got these white and blue tones in it. I absolutely love that, and I love the acting in it too. I think this is McAdams' only Oscar nomination as a Best Supporting Actress, and it's deserved.
Very much deserved, yeah. She's great in this.
And Ruffalo, as I said, I think everyone is terrific in this movie, and there's just scenes in there that are just haunting. I mean, especially with McAdams' character, where she's just going around the city and then asking like people, or like knocking on doors and tries to find information. Then she actually like talks to one, what is it, priest?
Ex-priest, yeah.
Ex-priest. Yeah, and she's like, she asks him like, there's like a lot of people accusing you of raping them when they were boys, and he's like, yeah. But I didn't get any pleasure from it. He's like totally openly talking about it. And I remember when I saw this in theaters, I was like, what? What is happening? The same look that McAdams has on her face. Like, what is going on? She's just confessing to this right now?
And this weird excuse that he does. Well, I molested them, but I didn't rape them. I should know. So why? Well, I was raped. And so, wow, all right.
Yeah. There's this one scene where Brian Darcy James is just running out to the street because they discover that an offender is like someone that has been living across the street for like years. And I mean, this movie deals with the discovery of all of those things. And it's just an incredible film that is so important in its subject and just so incredibly well made. And the ending credits are just, they just give you chills. Yeah.
And like I said, it's an amazing film, just the casting and the acting, and I absolutely agree. I didn't love it as much as well first time I saw it, and the second time I appreciated it even more. Although I'm not a huge fan of journalist stories, but this one just does it perfectly, and in that genre, I think it's the best.
Oh, wow.
In my opinion. Maybe I haven't seen enough, but it's just a great fucking journalistic film and shows how important that work is. And I think Rachel McAdams meeting one of the victims and him explaining to her what happened. Yeah, they're just talking about that is such a powerful scene, and it's a very important film to be made. And I think it's a film that pretty much everybody should see. Yeah, because it's a problem that's not really solved. It just finally showed what is happening, and maybe put a bit of a stop to it. But it's not a problem that's close to be solved.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's my number one. Yeah.
All right. Well, two great picks, and it's respectively yours and mine number one spot.
Right.
Yeah.
Number one and two.
Whatever.
Yeah. Well, we got there in the end. And once again, I want to reiterate. I started this off with a question that was sort of misleading. I like Rachel McAdams a lot. Yeah. And I love her as an actress. The only thing I said at the beginning, she's just not one of my favorite actresses. And that sounds so negative, but it's just like, there's so many people that are great actors, and I'm sure, she has potential to be one of my favorite actresses. She keeps churning out these movies and just continuing to do great stuff. I mean, I'm sure she's going to do more than Sherlock Holmes 3, and I'm excited to do what she's going to do next.
Yeah, definitely, because there's not a huge filmography of hers so far, and I think there's just so much, there's so much room for more great films and TV shows and whatever. And I'm also excited to see more. Yeah,
I want to talk about some honorables because I have lots.
Go ahead. What's in your honorable mentions?
We've mentioned most of them now, but Passion almost made my list.
Yeah, like I said, not going to be mine.
I just, by the way, that there's a jump scare at the end. I don't know if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
I watched this for the show.
Yeah.
And I haven't been this affected by a jump scare in a movie in years. Do you know which one I mean?
I'm not sure, to be honest. Is it the waking up?
No, it's right before that or right after that. It's where she opens the door and then she bends down to pick something up and then...
yeah.
Do you remember? It just it completely caught me off guard. It was so creepy.
That whole scene and everything leading up to it was so unnecessary.
Dude, yeah, I agree. For whatever reason, this is a completely bonkers and ridiculous movie, and it is
so over the top.
It is. I just had a good time with it.
Yeah.
True Detective Season 2. we talked about. Disobedience, we talked about.
I'm so surprised.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm so surprised your number 10 wasn't Eurovision.
Eurovision Song Contest was my number 10, and then I was like, I gotta be honest with me, Sherlock Holmes is way better than Eurovision Song Contest. But I stand by Eurovision Song Contest. The Story of Fire Saga, whatever it's called. The ending song is just absolutely brilliant. And I'll stay. You saw it now, right?
Yeah, and it's
absolutely fantastic.
fine.
Let's move on. Morning Glory.
It's not my kind of music. It's your honorable.
Yes.
Morning Glory.
Well,
I hated it.
Why am I doing this with you? The Time Traveler's Wife.
Okay.
Have you seen that?
I've seen it. It was also like a maybe with State of Play.
You
like
hated Morning Glory.
I hated it. Yeah.
You saw this for the show?
It's the very first film that I saw for the show for her. So I started off my binging of Rachel McAdams films with Morning Glory.
Right. How can you hate this movie?
I thought the humor was just awful. The story and like the whole story arc with Harrison Ford made like no sense. It was like this typical comedy kind of thing. So I changed just to change. There's like no real motivation. He just changed his character from just completely. It's like flipping a coin. It's a whole different side all of a sudden without real motivation. It's just 1 second from the other. It's all right, now I'm a different person. So I guess kind of way it did it, but it just seemed so unnatural. There didn't seem to be any like character development, but well, a lot of the jokes just fell flat for me.
Yeah. I mean, this is, I'm not saying this is a great movie. And by the way, honorables, like, these are not ranked. I'm not saying, what was really fighting for number 10 was True Detective Season 2 and Passion. Mm-hmm. But the other ones, I'm just like listing off things that I watched for the show, basically. So The Time Traveler's Wife was a movie that I was like, I'm not going to watch this. And then last night I was like, oh, maybe I should watch this. And then I watched it, and I thought it was better than I expected, but it just wasn't going to make my list. But I really liked Eric Bana's performance. Yeah. And I thought the story was quite sweet. I got to be honest.
I thought it was so creepy, actually.
It was
Jesus
creepy.
Christ.
It was creepy. Oh, dude.
Him grooming her to be his wife.
Oh, absolutely. When she's a little kid.
Christ, yeah. What
it
the
is
fuck is that?
And he's even naked.
Yeah, I thought dude, this is not alright.
It is not alright.
She just grows up to love him. Alright, this little kid, she's going to be your wife later. Let's go.
I agree, but
weird.
It is directed by Robert Schwenke, who did Flight Plan, and I love Flight Plan, which we talked about before.
Alright, well then, it's alright.
They were like, because you mentioned it before as well, that she worked with so many actors twice. We've now not talked about this, but I think obviously Wedding Crashers, Vince Vaughn and Rachel McAdams, also in True Detective Season 2.
Yeah. Game Night, Jason Bateman also in State of Play.
Right.
In Game Night, at the very beginning, a friend of hers who's there when she meets Jason Bateman for the first time is one of the victims she talks about in Spotlight.
Oh, no way.
About,
really?
Like, that emotional scene between the two of them. That's that guy. Ben Affleck in To the Wonder and State of Play.
Right, To the Wonder, yeah.
You got... Who else?
You got more?
I'm sure there's some technically Little Prince,
right.
Marion Cotillard, and then once again in
Midnight in
Paris, and also Owen Wilson, Midnight in Paris and Wedding Crashers.
Right.
Who else?
That is
I think we can find
impressive that you rattled them. Yeah, do you think so?
Probably. Like, who else is in The Vow or Aloha? You got Bradley Cooper once again, like from Wedding Crashers. Boom! Right. There we go.
Dropping facts. I just wanted the one last honorable mention is a great film, especially now. It's a film called a great film. I'm like exaggerating again. A film called The Family Stone, which is a Christmas movie.
The second film I watched for this.
You watched The Family Stone?
I watched The Family Stone.
I gotta appreciate the grind, my man. You hated it, I assume?
I told you I watched a lot for this.
Yeah.
It was kind of sweet at times,
Wasn't
but
it?
I hated the whole storyline with
Sarah Jessica Parker.
And what's his name? I forget it.
Dermot Mulroney.
So weird. He loves this woman, brings her over to his family, and he keeps defending her, and then he sees her sister, like, all right, well, fuck Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah.
What? Makes no sense, but all right.
I thought Diane Keaton was incredible. Oh, Diane Keaton, the Morning Glory, and that was it. That was it. Diane Keaton also in the yeah, that was it.
Dude.
But I thought she was great in The Family Stone. Diane Keaton really did. You got to say, I agree. Come on. She was great.
I did like Rachel McAdams in The Family Stone. Yeah. She was a fun character.
And she also, like the guy who's in love with her, he's the brother from Lars and the Real Girl.
Right. Yeah.
And I like him a lot. So those are my honorables. Well, we have not mentioned Southpaw. But
I just
that was
want
not
to
going
say
make
Southpaw.
Yeah.
I think this would have been my number 10 if she had a bigger role.
Yeah. She had a very small part in that.
Yeah. It made no sense picking that as a Rachel McAdams film.
Right. And obviously Doctor Strange.
I actually also rewatched this for this episode, and I also was like, all right, this wouldn't make my list if her part was a bit bigger. I have to say, for a Marvel film, her acting was superb. Not to say that acting is bad.
For a Marvel film.
Well, it is more of a comedic film. There are a lot of characters that I wouldn't point out because of their acting. And I thought she was really good, but I wouldn't pick it as a Rachel McAdams film because she's like 5 scenes of maybe 10 minutes tops.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah, but it's a cool film, and she's good in it. But
yeah,
the talents are kind of, I think, better used elsewhere than as a romance character for a Marvel film where she has like 5 minutes or 10 minutes of screen time.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was fun. Yeah. It was a good film. Whatever.
Do you have anything else?
What else did I see?
I think we've mentioned pretty much everything.
I watched Passion, Time Traveler's Wife, State of Play, Red Eye, Most Wanted Man, Eurovision, Deviants. That's pretty much everything that I saw. I wrote a list of films to rewatch, and I actually rewatched everything except for Sherlock Holmes.
But see, you didn't mention like Morning Glory or The Family Stone when you first.
I didn't.
No. But I'm saying no. I'm saying when we talked about it before, the movies that you were meaning to watch, and that you didn't get. Oh, you just listed the one you didn't get around to.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. I'm very surprised that you saw The Family Stone.
Yeah.
Just one last thing about Passion, because we sort of interrupted the discussion before.
Please.
I think the one thing that sort of solidifies the weirdness of it, I think there's like scenes of great acting followed by terrible acting.
Yeah.
And it could be the same person in the next scene. Do you know what I mean?
And I think also the film just seems like a first film by a young director, and for that it would have been fine. But it's
you got to start with a bashing.
Brian DePalma
bashing here. I kind of unfortunately agree with you there.
It seems so cheap, just also the lighting and how like the locations are set up. But also, once again, it plays in Germany, like Most Wanted Man, which is
she's worked with Germany again.
But the thing is, it's always like her collaboration with actors always come in twos. It's not like she's done like 4 films with Owen Wilson. It's just two.
Right.
As far as I've seen.
Yeah. And we've seen a lot.
Yeah.
You've seen a lot. We've seen a lot.
Maybe another Jake Gyllenhaal collaboration in the future. But who knows?
Who knows? Well, that's it.
That's it. Interesting.
Yeah, interesting list. And I've enjoyed preparing for this episode. I mean, a lot of the things that I did watch for it didn't make my list. But they made the honorables. As I said, the only one that did make my list was the lucky ones, which I'm very excited. Like, I'm excited to spread the word about this movie because I think it's really good. And yeah, everything else, great couple of picks. Obviously, no shows because she's not really been a part of a show other than her. Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
I think it's the second time that we've had a show in a special episode. The only other one was Sharp Objects. Yeah. But yeah,
that's it. That's our lists. That's our picks. And
it's the most work that I've ever done, I think, for this podcast.
Yeah.
Like, in watching films, it was close to becoming work, but there were some great films, so it was still fun.
Yeah. Well, we hope you enjoyed this. We hope you got some interesting movies to check out. And we'll be back with another regular episode next week, obviously, and we've talked about the next couple of special episodes. We've got a lot of interesting ideas, and I'm excited about them.
Something different from our usual specials. Maybe we'll tease it at some point.
Maybe. Well, you just did.
So you know what to kind of expect, so you won't be disappointed.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'll leave you to sign off.
Yeah.
I'll leave you to sign off.
I guess.
Is that, I don't know.
Whatever.
Say something.
We're not native English speakers.
We're not native English speakers.
We're not Native Americans. Yeah. Like, what's his name?
Alessandro Nivolo.
Right.
Nivola.
So once again, thank you so much if you've made it this far into the episode. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope we gave you some inspiration for Rachel McAdams films that you might not have thought to watch, or maybe you heard a couple of films that you have watched and you liked as well or didn't like. If there's any other Rachel McAdams films that you would have put on this list, maybe write us a comment on YouTube, and you can also find us on, like I said, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, anywhere you can listen to podcasts pretty much, or at Best Thing Radio on Instagram and Twitter, where you can see our amazing cover art that Flo designs every week. You can see that as well as our thumbnail on YouTube. If you like the episode or have any ideas or any feedback, please write us maybe on Apple Podcasts or on YouTube as a comment. We love a like. We would love a subscribe if you could. And thank you so much for listening. And yeah, have a great week.
Yeah, I got nothing. Have a good week. Bye-bye.
I had a lot of training. Bye.